Today, let's talk to future filmmakers, Josh and Rob Cosineau. And when I say, wait a sec, when I say future filmmakers, I mean, they're not future filmmakers. They're actually filmmakers in the present, but they made a movie called Future. So that does make them filmmakers of a movie called Future. So they are future filmmakers, but they're filmmakers in the present. Let's just talk to them. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I hope you're having a good day because for me, it's a good day when I get to talk to filmmakers, which is pretty much every day. And it's my job to tell you about new independent films that you should be aware of. And this is one you definitely want to check out. And if you've been listening or watching to the Film Threat Podcast, you know that I'm a huge fan of lo-fi sci-fi. I really love the kind of idea exploration that comes with a low-budget sci-fi film because it tends to be focused not on the big spectacle and the special effects. It's focused on ideas. So let's talk to Rob and Josh, brothers from Michigan. Where I'm from. I'm originally from Michigan, the Royal Oak area. I grew up in Royal Oak, Michigan. And you guys are like, okay, where are you on the mitten? Where is
I'm currently in Corktown, Detroit, at an empty office that will eventually be moving into. My company gets super rad.
Somewhere about this area, Shelby Township, Michigan.
There you go. See, only people from Michigan know that. And it's weird that there are a lot of people actually in Michigan out in the Los Angeles area in the film business. We call them the Michigan Mafia because
really?
There are so many. Yes, I can say to anyone from the Michigan Mafia, it's like, oh, wow, let's go get some Fago. And they know what I'm talking about. Fago Pop, by the way, which is also known as soda, whatever. But I'm trying to think like how we met and how I learned about your film. But I think people just know just from listening to the podcast that, and maybe just following what I do for years. I love low budget sci-fi films because I feel like they really are, again, as I said in the intro, like focused on ideas. And this one has a particularly clever one. And I think it's in a way influenced by, I hope this isn't overreaching, but like a Twilight Zone or a Black Mirror, because I think that both Twilight Zone and Black Mirror kind of rooted more in exploration of ideas as science fiction rather than, explosions and whatnot. So I should also say, Josh, you didn't just star in the film, you also wrote the script. So tell me where that idea came from.
Yeah. So the initial idea for this came as like sort of thinking on thinking on the idea that like everybody in their life has something that they can attribute why they're at where they're at now. If there's something bad that happens now, they can look back at the past and say, well, if I would have just done this, everything would have been different. And then from there, taking that idea and then putting into it the thought of, well, what if you could change it? Which is a line in the film, but what if you could change that? If you were given the opportunity, would you change it? What would be the costs that would make you change that? And if you did, is that the thing that would actually make you a better person or change your life? Or is that something that's in you to do that, to accept your circumstances, to work with that, to become better as you are rather than focusing on something that's in your past? And so it started with that idea and then worked into initially thinking that I was going to make this myself with absolutely like $0 budget and I like a camcorder style camera and being and from there sending off the finished script to Rob and his business partner Chris and saying like, hey, what do you guys think of this? And then being very excited to find out that they were pumped on the idea. And then working with them from there to expand the story, to work it through more and to make what we got.
Well, and I should mention, Rob, you and your partner, Chris, you have a film production company and you directed the film Future. When you got the script and looked at it, like what were your first impressions and what went into the development of it before you went about shooting it?
So yeah, Chris and I own a company called Get Super Rad. We do a lot of commercial work. So we already owned a lot of the stuff we needed to create a film, right? We had cameras, we have lights, we have a lot of awesome friends that were willing to help us. That said, we got the script from Josh, and I started noting it and going through it, try to simplify it even further than what Josh had sent us, because we wanted to shoot it. I believe, Josh, did we shoot it in 12 days? I believe we shot the whole.
I think it
so.
Was
Future
a
has an interesting
14.
distribution path too. It was. It's taken us 5 years to get it out, but yeah, we shot it in 14 days, and we wanted it to be very simple and really focused on the idea of like, if the main character is depressed, and we introduce this ticking clock where. He decides to sell his future for a chance at a do-over. In order to do that, he has to murder someone in 3.5 days. So that's our ticking clock, right? And then we take a character who's terminally depressed and does not like themselves. So when that ticking clock is introduced, instead of doing a bunch of wild and crazy shit, he just kind of reaches out to old friends and is kind of being dragged around Weekend at Bernie style by this toxic time traveler who just is there to have as much fun as possible before the job gets done. So we knew that structure was simple. We knew we could create it with a few of our friends in a vacuum and do it for no fucking money. And that was all super important to us.
I think the doing it for no money is definitely critical, especially because I feel like indie filmmakers are already kind of behind the 8 ball by, you don't have access. I mean, even just having the equipment, that's not, I mean, look, I got the equipment right here. I can make a thing with this, This is the thing that I can.
You're like Steven Soderbergh with that.
Oh, well, Steven Soderbergh is. I mean, Steven Soderbergh has made films with, an iPhone. But like, I feel like just having that's not enough, right? You have to have. So I guess like that production experience must have really helped. What in terms of did you look at when you looked at the script and look, there's a really interesting thing where I don't want to ruin too much, but there's an interesting thing where there are these people in it with these weird kind of masks. Yeah. So what into like some of that design and whatnot?
So Josh had these very nondescript characters called guards in the script, and I'm a huge Romero fan. I mean, I've kind of based my career off of Romero in a way. Like Chris and I both have a commercial production company, and whatever money we can make outside of what we need to live goes directly into making something creative. It's how Romero starts, how he made Night of the Living Dead. A lot of people don't know that. But his cast, a lot of the zombies in it were like ad agency friends. I think it was a beer company that's out there that he got most of his work, but it's just ad agency friends he knew. Where he was like, hey, come out, get drunk, we're making a movie. You're going to walk around and be a zombie. Like, that's kind of how he started. I think that's so fucking rad because Night of the Living Dead is one of the most influential films of my lifetime. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of like our direction. So I'm a huge fan of Bruiser, which is a lesser known Romero film where it's this guy who's in corporate America, and when he sees himself, he can't see his own face. He just sees this weird white face with these tiny eyes. And so we work with this amazing hair and makeup artist and special effects makeup artist, Chris Joulard, and she created these face masks that were similar and influenced by Bruiser. And that's kind of where the guards came from. Then, of course, we put them in the overalls a la Michael Myers costume because, Halloween. If you're talking about great independent films, you got to talk about Halloween.
I was thinking definitely like THX 1138, a little bit of that. But it's first of all, thank you also for bringing up Romero. George Romero also changed my life. The first, Night of the Living Dead movie, 1968, just like blew my mind. In fact, I wrote a chapter. There's a book that's out called My Favorite Horror Movie, and it's a bunch of people. Filmmakers, actors. I don't know why I'm in there, but I'm in there and just writing a chapter about their favorite horror movie. I owned a feature-length copy of Night of the Living Dead in Super 8.
That's
with
awesome.
Sound editing, and it was on 2 reels, and I would show it in my backyard in Michigan to all the neighborhood kids. We'd like project it onto a white sheet onto the garage and invite all the neighborhood kids. We'd have popcorn and watch that. That movie, just from a production standpoint, is hugely radical. And Dwayne Jones, who plays the lead in it, Ben, is just so fantastic. And there's so many things about that movie. It's like a miracle that it turned out as well, and it's so influential. So that's crazy. I never knew that because we've spoken many times. I don't know why, like, Night of the Living Dead never came up. It's such
I think it's I would put it in my top 5 favorite films ever made. Like, no doubt.
It's definitely in my top 10. And it's also one that when you know a lot about the behind the scenes of it, I didn't know that about the ad agency people. So that's cool.
Just a bunch of his friends.
All right. We're getting around, but like, so what I know that the movie, I mean, it's been like this 5-year journey to get the movie out. It's finally out now on all the paid VOD platforms, iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, all that stuff. So it's finally here. But I know you guys did a festival run. So what was the festival run like? And then I know you had some trials and tribulations with distribution. And because we have a lot of filmmakers who watch and or listen to the podcast, I really want to get the distribution side of the story. And Josh is like having it looks like you're having a pizza delivered in the background.
Well, I actually had blocked my door, and somebody said in case somebody tried to come into my room, and somebody pushed through the block of my door.
Oh no!
To enter my room.
I'll take care of that intruder if you need to. But tell me about the festival run and the sort of the pathway to distribution. And I know you had like just some crazy stories about distribution that like aren't the craziest I've heard, but like it's that thing that, like indie filmmakers don't think about, right? Like it's you finish the movie, you've gone through this whole process to make a film. It's like rolling a boulder up a hill and it's constantly rolling back over you and nearly killing you. But then you finally get the movie made, and then you have to get distribution, and that's like rolling another boulder up a hill. So what was from the pathway from festival to distributor, and then the trials and tribulations? And I promise you, I'm going to ask follow-up questions because I really want to know it. I mean, you had some crazy stories, so I want to hear it.
Yeah, so I mean, so Chris and I had no idea what to do with the fucking movie after we finished it. Like, we both independently worked on films. We started a company, and we knew we wanted to make movies, but like, I had it in my head. I was very ignorant. I had it in my head, like, if you make a movie that's pretty good, and I think Future's a pretty good film. If you make a movie that's pretty good, then it's just going to get out in the world and everybody will see it. So what we learned through the process was the film festival process is interesting, and it's built a lot on relationships. So what we did is we created a film that we knew wasn't going to go to those big major sought after film festivals. So instead we sought out film festivals that seemed interesting and fun to us. So like we found like Genre Blast, which was a fucking amazing experience where we premiered it. And then like Hell's Half Mile in Bay City, Michigan is one of my favorite film festivals on the planet. Those people are amazing and they take care of their filmmakers. But we found all these little genre and like little niche festivals and met really fucking cool people that were excited to have us there. So our festival experience was incredible. And I had just done a commercial job where Delta had fucked my flight up so bad that they ended up giving me and the camera dude that I was with each like $1,200 in Delta bucks. So I was able to fly for free to all these festivals that we went to that were outside of Michigan, which covered my travel. I think I did 2 of those, like OBX, which is like this Outer Banks Halloween themed film festival, which is perfect for our movie. It takes place at Halloween time. There's a Halloween party in it. But the festival experience was rad. And then the distribution was interesting because we kept getting advice from like some of the reps we worked with at this point, and then like some other folks about like how you handle distribution. But we really just had this dumb little film we made with our friends that we liked. And we know there's a niche audience that will love it, that are filmmakers that can learn from it and see it for what it is. But it's not this big money film. But everybody acts like when you have a film done, it's this property that's going to make a bunch of money. And it gets in your head and you don't know what to do. So we turned down a major distribution deal that was going to give us, I forget what it's called at this point, the upfront money. So we turned that. Yeah, they were going to give us an advance, a small advance, and we turned that down because we're like, well, what if that's the wrong choice? And we didn't do that. And then we signed with another distributor that you had partnered with, and they went out of business because of some misrunning internally. So then they went out of business, but we met you, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then finally we ended up partnering with this company called Summerhill that's putting out our films, and they make these like crazy fucking B indie movies, and then occasionally like a cool fun little doc or like something interesting that's like really punk rock and DIY. So we're stoked to have like you guys as a partner to help us put the film out, as well as, you know, having this distributor that's like doing super weird shit that's really fun. I think they did like the Suicide Squad knockoff movie. They do all this dumb fun shit that I love. So yeah, they're great, and they're amazing people, and they like care about our film, and they're helping us put it out. So, and I should say, in terms of our partnership, my job is really just to help tell people about the movie. Yeah, you're helping us promote it.
That's my role, is like, look, I'm telling people through the podcast right now, if you're watching or listening, you know, through whatever, you know, social media. I mean, Film Thread has an audience, and, you know, our mission is to support small films like this, small films like Future. So that's our goal, is to bring it to light. And then also, I think what's cool about the film is it's inspiring from the standpoint of like, look, if you've got the tools, and as I pointed out earlier, I have one, you can get something made. I mean, I really do think though that the story is the thing that makes this work, and identifying, with Josh and his plight, because I think we all think about like a regret or a choice, something that took our lives in a different pathway, and what the cost of that is. I think everyone has a moment like that, right? Whether it's like, a romantic relationship that went awry, or a choice that was made differently, and everybody thinks about that. So I think it's very relatable. So now that it's like out, this 5-year journey, what does that feel like for both of you? And I got this turn up, Josh, you look exactly the same. I'm looking at you going like, dude, you look like, I don't know, you might even look like you got younger. So
yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's a huge fucking relief to have it out, and we're excited that people will check it out. And we're hoping, I mean, my hope personally is maybe some filmmakers that are making their first movie, because we learned a ton on it. You can see us learning when you watch the film, and maybe some folks that see it will reach out and ask questions or whatever. I mean, that's always been my goal as a producer, is like to help other filmmakers make stuff, because nobody did that for me. And if I'm in a position to do that, that'd be fucking cool. Sorry, I cut Josh off. What were you saying?
Yeah, you said basically what I was going to say there. That there's just like a relief to know that it is coming out into the world, and like every conversation that I've had of people being like, "So where can I see your movie at?" And then having to have that moment of be like, "You will, you'll see it."
I think for Rostic it's a big relief, because he was the driving force on getting it actually distributed. So I think for him it's probably like lifting a massive like fucking boulder off his back, so he can finally be like, it's done, let's do the next one.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's the struggle, right? It's that Sisyphean task, as they say, right? Like that rolling that boulder up the hill, and I just feel like indie filmmakers are always behind the 8 ball, and like finally actually getting out and getting it distributed. I mean, that's the win, right? At least now you can buy your own movie on iTunes, and it's in your library, and then some of that money comes back to you, hopefully.
Well, and it is weird to have a film that doesn't come out, like, you know what I'm saying, like, because it had been so long. Yeah. It is a weird feeling when it doesn't come out, because it feels like you never finished it.
Well, yeah, they call them there's a term for that. They call them cine orphans.
Oh, really?
Cine orphans. Yeah, and there's a lot of them. You would be shocked, like how many films get made. And I usually joke that there are more outlets covering movies today than there are movies that come out in a year. Like, seriously, so many different. I mean, Film Threat used to kind of own the space back like 20 years ago. Now, like, there's so many outlets, and that's a good thing. It's disappointing though there aren't more outlets that cover indie films. But like, really, just like getting it, that is sort of like, that definitely is sifting, the cream of the crop, is to finally actually get some kind of distribution and passing that QC and those deliverables. And there's all sorts of strange rules I'm sure you discovered in your deliverables.
Oh yeah.
Like, okay, what really shocked me I thought was funny is you can't have websites in your credits.
Really?
No .com. You can't have and visit such and such.com. That's like a weird thing that a QC person will look for. Yeah, you can't have them in your end credits. Cannot be there.
We got lucky because Chris had worked on a couple other films in like, not quite the QC process, but in the finishing process, some other indie films. So we kind of watched other people go through that. So like it was still new to us, but we were fortunate enough to have like a little bit of a window into all that goes into it, because that is really fucking hard. And also, like, I would say, like, honestly, the hardest part about making a film now that I've finished one was keeping track of all of the assets that you need to distribute, like all the release forms, all the location shit, all the legal stuff. You need to track everything. You make sure all your chain of title is buttoned up with the state, like all that annoying stuff that you don't think about when you're like, I got an idea, I want to make it. Like, now what I've learned is I really need to focus on that shit before I make a movie next time, because it was a lot of figuring that out after the fact.
And the email insurance. So I have no idea like how you got my email, but I do want to, like, I've never done this on the podcast, but I will let people know, if you want to contact me, there's the place to go to filmthreat.com/contact. and it's sort of like, first of all, if you have a question, there's sort of there's a little thing that answers your basic questions, but if those aren't answered, I get all those emails, so I see and we'll make sure to get it answered. So if you have a movie coming out, contact us at Film Threat. And I also want to thank our sponsor, Storyblocks. If you go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat, look, there's a little thing there. If you go to storyblocks.com/filmthreat, it's tools for indie filmmakers. It supports us by letting Storyblocks know that you watched or listened to this. Also, it's for a low monthly fee, you get access to over 1 million clips. And I mean, stuff that will take like your small budget indie movie and elevate it to a much bigger budget feel, along with like cleared music. And so you don't have to worry about any of that legal work. Hey, you got it from Storyblocks. But I do sincerely, that's how I found them as a sponsor. Is we used Storyblocks to do some projects, and then it was like, I wonder if they would want to sponsor us at Film Threat. So, and then we still use them. We still use them to this day.
We talked a little bit off camera about Storyblocks. I'm 100% diving into that website right afterwards, because we use that all the time with ad agencies. So it's going to save me a big headache.
Well, I hope people are still listening. When we get to the plug part of the conversation, maybe people tune out. But I do believe that I've always believed that any sort of quote secrets, because I've noticed this, that people, especially in Hollywood, they keep things close to the vest. They don't want to let their secrets out. And I'm like, I don't care. Here's all the info. Here's so and so. Email this person. Here's how I did this. Here's a place to get that. And I always appreciate people that are honest and no bullshit like yourselves. I feel like that's the thing with anyone from Michigan. It's always like a low tolerance for bullshit, or like a highly tuned bullshit detector. You can kind of tell when people are full of shit. And that to me has always been the thing. And I don't see any reason I feel like the most talented, will rise to the top, and the people that are the hard workers, as long as you've got all that information. So
yeah, absolutely. It
helps. So,
I also want to say really quick that I was stoked to do this, and I'm super proud to be on Film Threat, especially as a Michigander. It's a cool thing for us. So I want to let you know that.
All right, that's cool. Well, we should talk about where are we in Michigan? I grew up in Royal Oaks. Which way is my hand going?
Actually, yeah, it's this way, right?
Yeah. No, this. Yep.
It's this way.
Wait,
Corktown.
Here we go.
Shelby Township, right now.
There you go.
Comes a bit longer though, but
Corktown, Detroit. Yeah, Royal Oak native. We grew up not too far apart.
Yeah, but just great to talk to you guys. Congratulations on the film finally coming out, and we'll do everything we can to support. And again, if you want to contact us at Film Threat, not too difficult. I'll see it, and I appreciate it. Gentlemen, thanks for being on the Film Threat podcast, and congrats on the movie.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.